Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 4 of Yona of the Dawn, and I felt like it was appropriate to wear primary colors because in the last reaction I talked about how like Hak has a blue theme, Yona has red, and swoon has yellow. There are primary colors, so it's like I'm gonna be thematic for this episode. But oh my gosh, I love this so far. This is so much fun. I absolutely love the idea of Hak and Yona on exile, getting away from the kingdom. And it was so touching last episode. Hak just like helping her out and trying to get her back into good spirits. He's like, you need to survive. And Yona clearly at her weakest point that we've seen her so far. But girl, I hope you get some memory, you know, coming back later on to know that Hak like picked leeches off of you. He like respected your space while you bathed. He protected you, got you food and water. And the big thing that sold Hak's character for me is that when he saw the hair clip, the pendant and everything, and he knew that swoon gave it to her, he could have been that asshole that threw it away and been that jealous guy, but no, he gave it back to her because he knew that that was the one. He was going to give it back to her anyway. That's the thing. He was going to give it back to her to begin with because he's a nice person. But then when he found out that it was keeping her going, then he especially wanted to give it back to her because he's like, I hate swoon, what he's done, but I love you more. And it's like, I know y'all say that there's gonna be other dragons that we meet and it'll be curious to see what I think about them, but I'm pretty head over heels for Hak right now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, dude is on my top husbando list for sure. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what all we deal with because I'm assuming they're going back to Hak's hometown, assuming that. And assuming that I'm curious to know what swoon is up to. It seemed like he was putting some things in motion and seeing just what all is going to happen. And some of you have pointed out in the comments, and I agree with you, that we really don't have the full picture. Hak and Yona have a very skewed perception of King Il. And swoon has a very skewed perception of his father and King Il. So it'll be interesting to see as the series goes on what the overall story ends up being and what we become privy to. Also, some of you have pointed out, you're like, are you going to read the manga afterwards? Someone noted that this first season ends on volume 8 and there's like 30 volumes. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. If y'all don't care if I do reactions to the manga, if y'all are okay with that, I know it's available digitally, which is handy. So if y'all are okay with that, I'm okay with that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But at this point, I'm like, it sounds to me like it's a fruits basket scenario where we just get in, because I remember when the original Fruits Basket anime came out, it only covered to a certain point, and I remember being like, is that it? And then I went and read the manga and was like, oh no, there's so much better that happens, and I feel like this is going to be the exact same thing. And so, yeah, when we cross that bridge, I think that we'll probably end up, I'll be reading the manga and reacting to it on here, but we'll get to that when we get to it. We're only 4 episodes in, so we have a long way to go. But in any case, let's dive in, shall we? I'm excited for this episode. The Wind Clan. So yeah, we're getting to Hak's hometown, or at least to some backstory on Hak. We've gotten his grandfather, so we might as well get the rest of it. But let's do that, shall we? We're going to start this episode here in 3, 2, 1, let's go. This show, it just like gets you in the feels, like just gets you emotionally invested in these characters right off the bat. And like characters that we've only seen in this episode alone, you instantly feel connected to them. And that's what I love about this show is it draws you in. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue, and I'm actually surprised by how much political discussion are in these episodes so far, especially this one. I did not expect that because, you know, there's some series that it's just like light and fluffy, and it's when you think of like a romance, you think, oh, it's just gonna be like this fluff, and instead we have like political intrigue, and there's like deception and strategy, and like Hak's motivations. Hak, oh my gosh, I could just fangirl all over the place, but y'all know Hak's amazing at this point, and he's talk about him in a little bit. And Yona, I'm like, Yona, Rena, get with the program. But of course, it's like anytime you have a main character of a series, 9 times out of the 10, the main character is completely oblivious to the person that has a romantic attraction to them. 9 times out of 10, completely oblivious. And it's like, girl, see the writing on the wall, but I have a feeling we'll be saying that the entire series, which is why I want to read the manga, because I'm like, I bet the manga gets into this, and I want to read more of it. But there's so much with this episode that I want to go back through and talk about it. Hak, man, just being a damn MVP. The way that they show like his expressions, Hak is so expressive, where he just has that like the sincerest look on his face. He's like, a little snake bite isn't gonna stop General Hak. It's like the sweetest, most handsome expression, and then he can be funny and be serious. It's like, I want him to turn into a dragon though. But we haven't got that yet. For a second I thought we see like Spirited Away when she looks out the window of the moonlight. I thought we see like him as a dragon going towards the fire tribe, but no, haven't got that. I do like that when he's back at the Wind Tribe, that he's their clan leader. It's like they have done pretty good without him for these years. They said 3 years since he left to go be her bodyguard. And Hak is smart. Like, I get that he's like, we can't just go to any old village because there's a chance somebody's going to recognize us, or there's going to be soldiers there, and we don't want to do that. We want to stay hidden. So if we go to where we are, then there's a better chance that, because they won't just let anybody in unless you're part of the Wind Clan. So it's like, cool. Which I really like that. So, and I like these two guys, these two bumbling friends of Hak's that are the guards. And I love that idea of like, we're the Wind Clan, we blow with the wind, we go with the breeze, like everything. And that's kind of related to Hak's whole character, because I'm assuming Hak is leader of the Wind Clan because he's the strongest in the clan, right? Because it doesn't seem like a birthright thing, because he was adopted by Moondok, just like his younger brother was adopted as well. So it seems like it's more of their hierarchy is more like, if you're the strongest, you're the clan leader. So it's like, of course Hak would be, because he's the strongest in the whole village. Or that place does not look like a village. It looks actually pretty big. So, but I like the idea that Hak went from being this carefree guy that didn't even want to be general, that didn't want to have this responsibility, and was kind of like these guards. He just wanted to go with the flow. But Yona's given him a sense of purpose. And it's like, oh, look at that. Look at you. Look at you. And I love the one guy's like, it's been 10 years. He's like, it's been 3. And then, of course, they make the joke that he's been fired. And Hak is just like, y'all are laid back. But it makes sense thematically why the Wind Clan, if you're looking at elements, why the Wind Clan would not be good against the Fire Clan. Because I'm thinking Pokemon logic here. But in a sense, wind just makes fire bigger. So if the Wind Clan were to attack the Fire Clan, it's kind of like a metaphor that it wouldn't work out, so they should not. And also, Hak doesn't want the collateral of people getting hurt because of him and Yona. But everybody instantly recognizes Hak, which if you got a big giant spear like that. And I love that these girls are like, you've become even more handsome. I'm like, look, these girls knowing what's up. They get it. Why don't you get it, Yona? They're all like surrounding him, and he's like, one at a time, ladies. And I love that as he's listening, he's like, okay, nobody seems to know what's going on. And then they ask who the girl is. And they're like, is she your woman? Like, oh, like such gossip. And then, of course, they say she's a court lady in training and that she was kicked out. Mm-hmm. I like it. So the Sky Capital, hear you. And, of course, she collapses because it's been a long journey. And they say, what a weak girl, like most of the women that are strong or something. And Hak's like, okay, get everything ready. And I like that his friends are like, oh, he's being kind to a woman? What? Like, this is not like Hak. And then I love the idea. I love the reveal that Moondok is at the capital, at the kingdom at Quokka. I love that reveal. And just like that information coming out. That's really, really cool. I love it. And then we cut to our guys. So the one dude that looks like a cross between Asahi and Haikyuu and Mingju from Roadhouse Sushi, the one guy that has the leopard print and the beads, he acknowledges that Hak beat him at 13 years old. So maybe he's not as strong as he looks. He just looks kind of menacing. And then you've got the younger guy with the bandana, the blonde, that looks pretty reasonable, but also very young. And then you have Moondok, and then you have the Fire General. General Gang, what a name. What a name. I like that people have commented in the comments that this show is kind of blending a lot of different cultures, Asian cultures. It's like blending Chinese and Korean and Japanese, which you can kind of get that from the style of clothing, from the setting, from the OP, from the names. Like, it's all a big conglomeration, which is kind of cool. And so basically they're assuming that seems like the easy way out, that Hak would be the one that killed King Il. That'd be the person to put blame on. And I like at the end when Hak's having the sake with his grandfather, he's like, I may become the biggest villain in Kuoka. That feels like such a thing of foreshadowing, like they're going to blame everything on him and use it to try to kill him. I'm like, no, please don't hurt Hak. I love him. Why would you pin all this on him? He's like he was the most loyal to King Il, and they're framing him. I hate it. Nope. And then Fire Tribe Boy, he calls Gang a boy, like he's that much older than them. And so, yeah, the rumor is that Hak killed the king and took Yona as hostage. I hate it because it's probably going to be what's spread around, and Hak's like the nicest person in the world. And then at least the people in the council are like, let's not make assumptions. I like that they're at least smart enough to not go with what the fire general says on face value. I like that. And then it's interesting. So we get Suwon comes in with the general with the scar, and then is it Suki? Is it Kisuk? Is that him? The guy with the black hair, the long black hair. So they just say that Princess Yona and Hak are missing. And Suwon is like, Suwon doesn't answer. Here's the thing. Someone in the comments in episode 1 compared Suwon to Yao from Mudao Sushi, which I think is so intriguing. I see it a lot because Suwon doesn't confirm anything in this conversation. He doesn't confirm that Hak did kill the king or didn't. He doesn't confirm that they're missing. He just kind of like steers the conversation wherever it needs to go, but he doesn't confirm anything, which is fascinating. And all he says is, if you find them, contact the castle. Don't harm them or inform anyone else without permission. So clearly he doesn't want them harmed, which again goes back to the whole idea of, does Suwon really want to kill them, or because they've all grown up as friends, does he want to spare their lives? Like, what is up with that? And he's like, he does bring up a good point. Publicizing the information would bring chaos to the kingdom. And I like that it zooms in on his eyes and they're so cold and green. The tribes would begin fighting amongst themselves. I like that he's like, this is the whole thing. So we have the empire, and I wanted to pause on this. So Kuoka is like in the northern central part of the empire. And then you have Saika, you have Chishin, you have Fuga, which is the wind tribe, Suiko, Sei country, and Shin country. So it's interesting you have that those, it looks like it says the 5 tribes, but there's 6 countries with the kingdom. So I wonder if Shin and Sai are together as a tribe. They're just separated. Interesting. Find it fascinating. Must do now work together to strengthen Kuoka kingdom and avoid invasion by another country. So yeah, okay. And then, so we get this brought up that King Il, to avoid conflict, he gave other countries land and made offers to them. Fascinating. So again, King Il, being the pacifist that we established back in episode 1, you could see that 2 ways, right? You could see him as offering land and making bargains with them to keep the peace, as you can see that as totally fine, that it's keeping the peace and everybody's happy, supposedly. Or you could view it as he's weak and he's conceding to other kingdoms and making it to where Kuoka's at a disadvantage. And I'm thinking, and that's clearly where Suwon's coming from. He's saying that the kingdom of Kuoka's power has fallen. Yeah. And now's not the time for a civil war. So then they established that they need a new king and all of this. And the fire general and the other 2, it makes sense because they're like, okay, well, if Yona's not here, somebody's got to be king. Suwon's got the blood of the king in them. It makes perfect sense. But I like that Moondog's like, yeah, if we crown Suwon, that's going to legitimize the idea that Hak killed the king and took Yona hostage. It's just going to add legitimacy to that claim. And so the other generals approve it because they don't know any different. But because Moondog knows Hak as his grandson and knows Yona, he knows something's up. And he doesn't deny it, but he's like, I can't make a decision until, he's like, I'm not a general. I'm just here in my grandson's absence as a representative. But he's like, you should really find my grandson if you want to have full support, unanimous support. And so I like that Suwon kind of asserts himself. He's like, well, we're going to have the coronation in 3 days. So you need to bring Hak back. in 3 days, or you need to concede in 3 days, because it's going to happen whether you like it or not. And if you say no and you haven't answered in 3 days, then we're going to assume the wind tribe's against it. And so I like that. And Suwon, this is where I get the Yao vibes, because he's like, well, without approval, I can't become king. But the kingdom cannot last without a king. So, and then Moondog's like, well, if you were to marry Yona and formally become king, then I'd give you my blessing. But that means you can't kill her, right? That means you can't kill her. And Suwon just kind of looks at him like, oh, huh. Like Moondog's trying to catch him. And he's like, Hak wouldn't leave the castle without a reason. Exactly. Yeah. And so, and that's, when he brings up Hak again, that's when Suwon gets a little bit, he looks like sincerely like, oh. And then as soon as Hak's brought up, he's like, He's like, 3 days from now, we're having the coronation ceremony, whether you like it or not. Yeah. And I know you'll come. For the sake of the people of Capital Fuga. Yeah. And he's like, you're going to come because it means you have to, because your people will be in jeopardy otherwise. And then Moondog's just like, well, it's sad. I used to think of you as a grandson like Hak. Which is interesting, because later on, Suwon's like, I'm glad that he thanks Moondog to himself and says, I'm glad you acknowledged me as your grandson. So, I don't know what to make of that last line. It's curious. The fire general thinks that they're going too easy on them. And the fire general's like, you need to kill Hak and Yona, because if they start spreading the truth. But again, Suwon brings up a great point. This whole political strategy. He's like, Hak's not going to say anything, because if there's any type of ruckus and any type of stir, it's going to put Yona in danger. And man, that just shows like there's a level of manipulation there. I'm sure he's waiting in silence to protect the princess. So prepare to begin preparations to quell a wind tribe rebellion. Okay. And then he sees Moondog go away. And we get him, he's like, thank you for acknowledging. I'm happy to hear you considered me a grandson. So that's what the curious part is. So Suwon is the one that gave the general orders to block the dam, because to keep them from rebelling. So he gave the orders to do that. But it seems like he still doesn't want Hak and them killed. But there's a level of manipulation there that's interesting. Like Suwon knows that Hak loves Yona. He has to. He has to, because he made all these predictions. He's like, no, Hak is going to protect Yona at all costs. So he's not going to reveal her and not going to make a fuss, because that would cause problems for her. So he's going to be as conservative as possible. And I'm like, dude knows. It's just, I'm still so curious about Suwon and what his whole point is, what the whole deal is. We don't know everything. We're just getting little tiny bits and pieces. But I'm so, so curious what's going on here. And then, yeah, we meet the baby brother, and the whole thing where it reminds her of her dad, the food, which is implying, she says it's the best food she's had, which is really sweet, and that gets Hak's attention. But she's implying it reminds her of her dad, them making the food to like help her feel better, because it connects back to that episode where she was feeling bad and her dad made the food. And so, yeah, and then he says, are you Hak's friend? And she's like, probably. I'm like, girl, what do you mean probably? What do you mean probably? I'm with the two guards. They're like, you're probably friends. They're like, that's awful. Even if you can't be lovers, you might not even be friends. He's totally out. I love that Hak is like, shut up, all of you. His feelings aren't returned. So they know that Hak loves her. Yep. And then, oh my God, the point where he like silences her and he's like, your name is Rena? You're like court lady in training? He's like, got it. And she just nods to the hand. That's a good girl. I'm with them. I'm like, oh my gosh, Taeyeon. I'm just like, slay me, show. Marry me now, Hak, right now. But again, you can kind of see where Yona's coming from, because Hak has been teasing her so much since they were kids. And he's like, but the thing is, he's done so many little gestures that Yona wouldn't know are gestures because she doesn't see them head on, that it's like Hawk has hurt himself a little bit in this department because he's been so like teasing and rude to her that she doesn't get his actual feelings. And he thinks that she would be safe there. And I'm like, dude, Hawk, I know you want to keep her safe, but Yona's gonna go with you because she's not safe in the Wind Tribe. She just isn't, especially with the general's son or whatever that is an asshole. So Moondog comes back and sees them. I love that Hawk and Moondog can look at each other and they just, without even saying a word, they just look at each other and they get what's going on. They just nod and they're like, yep, here's what's happening. And then the one poor guy gets beat up. And then I like that Hawk's like, we got to figure out something to do. And so, yeah, the younger general, he's clearly jealous because Yona didn't choose to marry him, because if she had chose to marry him, he would have been king. He's jealous about Hawk and all this. So that's not going to end well. I foresee next episode, the general's son, Taejun, I foresee Taejun making some mistakes and challenging Hawk and going down to the village and finding out what's going on. I just see it happening and Hawk having to battle him or something and something going down. It's just, it all seems to be leading up to that point, especially when the one guy leaves to go get medicine. I'm like, he's going to get killed or he's going to get captured in midway on the way to get the medicine. Like something bad's about to go down. And yeah, we established that the Hawk's little brother is very frail and has like a condition where he needs special medicine. And Taejun's going to end up burying himself because the whole point was that they were just supposed to block the dam and keep from a rebellion happening. They were just supposed to stall them out until the coronation. But because Taejun is jealous and is Taejun, he thinks that he's going to start killing merchants so that they can't bring the medicine or extra water to the village. He's going rogue, and I don't see it ending well. And so, yeah, Hawk is thinking of, I love this about Hawk's character because he's like, if we antagonize the Fire Tribe, if we antagonize them, then people in the Wind Tribe are going to get hurt. And then his brother's probably not going to get medicine. His brother's probably going to die. And Yona, he's come to the conclusion, Hawk thinks that Yona could be safe here, but that's only if there's not a war with the Wind Tribe. And it's like, Hawk, dude, Yona is not safe here. She needs to go with you. It's like, And then Yona's like, I don't want to see anyone else die. So they're both like, both of them are in mutual agreement. I love it. And then Hawk ends up giving orders. He's like, I won't let you start a war with them now. He's like, I'll do something about this, which I think he's going to face Taejun. I like the line, just because the river dried up, it's not like us to shrivel up. Entrust your lives to me and wait quietly. Like, he's so serious. Those are the orders of Sun Hawk, chief of the Wind Clan. And they're like, the young lord gave us orders? What? He said becoming a general would be too much work. So I like this idea that Hawk plays off being lazy and arrogant and a tease, but when it comes to people he cares about, he like goes all in. Like, he's all in for Yona, he's all in for his brother, his grandfather, his people. Like, I love that about Hawk's character. And I love the idea of, oh my gosh. Well, before we get to the grandfather, then this idea of letting her get some rest. And he flirts. He openly flirts with you, Yona. Don't you get it? And she says, is there anything else I can do? And he's like, well, let me flirt with you. It's like a court lady should try to be a little more sexy. And she's like, no. And she's like, excuse me, I'm being serious. And then I love that he just pinches her cheek. And he's like, you can live a carefree life here. And he just lets it go and walks away. And she's like, what? I'm like, girl, see the writing on the wall. Come on. But I love the scene of him and his grandfather drinking the sake. And of course it's sake he took from the grandfather's cellar. I love that. That was so great. Where he's like, well, I didn't get this. I stole this from you. And he's like, what a waste. So Hawk realizes that his grandfather is just the expressions, the way that they draw Hawk. Oh my gosh. Am I simping for this character 4 episodes in? You better believe I am. But he's concerned about his grandfather, that he's going to get hurt. He's concerned about his brother, about Yona. And he makes 2 requests. The one request being that he wants him to approve Suwon to become the new king so that they'll leave them all alone. He's like, I'll exile myself from the Wind Clan. I'll leave. I'll give you back the son name. I'll just be Hak. And the grandfather's like, excuse me? And he's like, I just want to protect the clan, and this is the only way to do it. And the fire tribe will stop bothering you if you approve the king. And Moondog's like, you're going to end up with a bounty on your head. And then he's like, that sounds cool. Maybe I'll become Quokka's greatest villain. Ah! And then he wants Yona to stay there where she can be safe. And he said, smile a little. I'm glad I brought her here. And my other favor to ask of you is that to hide Yona from the castle and let her live her whole life as a member of the Wing clan. But you know that's not going to work. And then, yeah, Moondog's like, nah, I see right through it. I refuse to take a request from my grandson. I won't let you go. But I can't disobey my chief's orders. Yep, and those are the final orders of Son Hak, chief of the Wind Clan. And then Moondog just crying. It's like, no! We've known these characters for like 4 episodes, and I'm already like so invested in them. I'm like, no, Hak, you can't leave the Wind Clan. No! I just, as you wish. And then, yeah, seeing the moon. I kept wanting to see like Spirited Away, like him flying out the moonlight there, but oh my gosh, this series. So Hak exiling himself. I'm like, he's gonna end up taking Yona with him. You know that he is, because you just know that he is, because the June guy is gonna mess things up, and that's gonna cause a riot, cause a ruckus, and then it's all gonna go to hell in a handbasket. I just know it. I get bad vibes from the guy going by himself to get the medicine. I get bad vibes from General Gang's son. I can see Moondog saying that Hak left and supporting the king, but Hawk's gonna take Yona and run, or Rena and run. But y'all, this episode has been my favorite so far. I love this episode so much. It's getting into so many cool things, getting into things with politics, with these characters, developing all these things. Yona's oblivious. But, oh man, I'm so excited for episode 5. I'm so excited. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what y'all thought of this episode. This was great. I loved this. I'm so excited to see where it goes to from here. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back again soon with episode 5 of Yona of the Dawn. Bye.